Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Nick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Voice. This is Season 3, Episode 1. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
What is up, everyone?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back to Season 3 of the Cosmic Voice.
Yes, Season 3.
Season 3. Oh, my God. They've renewed us once again.
I love it.
Who would have thunk it? Not me.
Love it.
Not
nope,
me.
Not me. I knew we'd be renewed.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Mr. Positive. We need somebody
That's
positive
right,
up here.
That's right. That's right.
So how you been, pal?
I'm good, brother. How about you?
I'm pretty good. Were you all right during the layoff? Or the whatever they call that? The hiatus or
the season break?
The season break. There you go.
Yeah, man. I did okay. I was okay. I survived.
Me too. I'm still alive. So
that's right.
You know what I mean? This is a whole new world. It's a brave new world.
It is a brave new world. We're getting into the warmer summer weather. We are moving on with our lives from the previous 15 or so months. We're looking good, man. Everything's looking up. Concerts are starting. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Going into a good time.
Good time. Somebody recently told me life is about living. So I guess that's what it's all about, right? Sooner or later, we got to get up and we got to start living. I mean, there's only
that's it, man. That's it, dude. You know, that's it. It's been a very nice, since we had a little time off, it's been nice trying to, realizing that life is coming back. There is a normal. It's not a new normal. It's the old normal, kind of.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time, which is good. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, me too. Onward and upward from here. And with
That's right.
I know that the holidays are right around the corner, so I can't complain. So there's always a silver lining 12 months into it. So here we are. Anyway, all right, so our topic, the kickoff Season 3, is, has music become all about the visuals? Examples such as Instagram or TikTok, other social media platforms. Has music become all about the visuals? What do you think, buddy?
Well, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, there are subjects that sometimes Mick and I kind of talk about beforehand, or not really talk about. We just kind of decide on what we're going to talk about. And, some of the subjects that we've had before in the past are sometimes things you need to sit with for a little bit. And this was one of those things, when we talked about it. You and I come from an era of MTV, when MTV was music television. And, in the history of rock, we'll just say, since we mostly talk about rock on this show, there's always been some kind of visual, from the New York Dolls to Alice Cooper to T-Rex to David Bowie to, even the Beatles at one time and so forth and so on. Then you get in the MTV era, and now we're in a social media era. So music has always been a visual thing. I think now, in my opinion, in this day and age where social media is such a big thing, I feel like visuals have taken over music, where before, back in our MTV day, it kind of went hand in hand, or, the music, to me anyway, the music kind of always just a little bit above the image, but of course they would run neck and neck in some circumstances. But in this day and age where bands and artists get signed by their views and their likes and their downloads and stuff like that, it has become, to me, that image and visual is way more important than some of the music. To me, that's a little bit unfortunate, but that's just the age we're living in with social media and with especially like TikToks. Your visuals are quick flashes. You and I have said before in previous shows that what's it, like 8 seconds, 10 seconds. I think you said at the very beginning of the Cosmic Voice, we talked about people's attention span. Attention span was 8 to 10 seconds, whatever it was shown to be in some tests that they've done. So, with TikTok, some TikTok videos are seconds long, so it's easy to, to put stuff out there, and your YouTube videos are some of them are only 16 seconds or whatever it is. So I guess in a way, unfortunately to me anyway, the visuals have kind of overtaken the music itself. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you that there's always been a visual element to music, right? I mean, you named some very popular acts and bands that were definitely visually oriented, right? But here's the thing, a lot of those bands, in my opinion, even if you stripped away that, there was still substance to the music, right? But at the same time, that visual, helped kind of push them over the edge, or maybe that's what people picked up on. Like, again, Kiss's first album, though it probably didn't sell the way that they thought it would, the band didn't feel that it captured their sound, but it did create a bit of a buzz because of the image on the album. Yes. Right? So there was a visual that was being used, but they knew that kind of going into it. This was going to be a visual band as well.
Right.
Bands have always had looks. With the crop top of the Beatles, that, and, the suits and things like that. So there was always a presentation part to more of modern day, say, rock and roll and things like that. So I think, like you said, it's always been there. And I have to say that by the late 80s, early 90s, with what became really the hair metal of that time, there was a lot of bands being signed just because they had the look. Not necessarily because they had a sound that was anything different or competitive, though some people may have considered it. Well, this is competitive to the Poisons, to the Rats, to the Europe, to the Bon Jovi. But they really weren't competitive. They may have looked like it, but they just didn't sound like it. They didn't have that same, it was very generic, okay?
Yeah.
I think that what we're trying to look at right now is in terms of, we have all these tools now for the artist, for the musician, for the bands, that we never had before, right? And like you said, back in our day, MTV actually played music videos like 24/7. They had some shows thrown in there, but they were kind of centered around music videos. Most of them, 95% of them.
Right.
And now you're looking at all these tools, all this material that can be done in someone's hand now, the artist's hand themselves. And it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
Just some time. So there's a lot of people looking to make a mark simply by catching the visual. And with the hope of, well, if I can catch something visually in this market, in this crazy market, maybe then I can kind of reel somebody in to listen to my music. And I've noticed that, like, say with the Cosmick View, where I interview artists, I get stuff every day, 7 days a week, pretty much around the clock, from different PR people, from bands, from artists, from media companies. They're all pushing the music that they have on their roster or they're picking up. And I get a lot of artists that reach out, and you can tell they're pushing the visual.
Yeah.
Right? Trying to like that shock or that excitement or, wow, look at this weird setup. And is that enough, really, to get someone to go listen to the music? For me, I'm going to answer, that's not always the case. Actually, it's probably far less the case anymore, being an older artist myself, than it maybe, say, it was, 30 years ago for me. Like, I got to check these guys out. Let's see what this is all about, But it's more the music for me than the visual because, nowadays, especially, and we talked about this before, music was always worldwide, but that connection that we have as artists to the world is so much bigger, so that most people will only ever hear you, then really go see you at a show, right? Yeah. So you could be anything you want on a video, and I've seen guys that have been doing videos for a number of years, and, that visual's constantly changing. Their look is constantly changing. So is visual a thing of the now, to stay as current as you possibly can, because by tonight it's already passé? So is that why we're seeing these type of things now? I would assume so, because like you said, there is no MTV. MTV now is YouTube or...
Right.
I know there are websites out there that are doing the MTV type thing, but really, they're still not MTV. No one's ever been able to hit that mark like MTV did at the time, So as videos are still being made, my band's still making videos. You see a lot of bands, major bands, still making videos. Are videos still relevant? There was a question of that back in early to mid 2019. People were saying, are videos still relevant? Do we still need them as part of our packaging? Well, after the effects of 2020 and into 2021, video became popular again.
I think too, to go along with what you're saying, I think a lot of the videos now that have been done, a lot of artists are really pushing and using the new, whether it be CGI or computer generated things, where they're videos that back in the day may have cost them. I mean, videos are still expensive, I'm sure, but instead of going and renting mansions and landscapes, they're literally just green screening it and CGIing everything.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And having the world behind them.
Right.
Now, also, too, your videos have become huge productions. Back in our day, Thriller was like the cool big production, but now the productions have gotten bigger, more expensive. Now they're also, there's commercials now. They're throwing in advertising, and whether it's cars or whether it's headphones or the wireless beats for your head, or your headphones or cars or alcohol or anything.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the videos have now become. These big, expensive computer generated small little movies with products involved,
Right.
And even with that, the songs become less and less. You get an 8-minute video and the song's really like 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Right.
So you're getting all this extra footage for all this extra money, and music ends up being the last thing to be interested in.
This is Stephen Piercy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmic Voice.
Well, here's what's happened, too, is that the artist or, the production company or whoever has an opportunity to, monetize that now.
Right.
So since there is no money in music videos per se,
right,
because they don't necessarily translate in large album sales anymore,
right,
they're monetizing as much as they can to get some kind of, and some of these videos are still doing in the millions and whatnot. So they're making some money on it. I don't know what kind of money it is, but depending on who you talk to, it could be big money, it could be small money. It's not the point. Where these bands would put their videos up on MTV, and really MTV profited from the videos more so in terms of they were able to sell commercials to big name products in between, where the artist made out in a sense because album sales went out the roof, especially in the 80s. Album sales were all over the charts, and it just helped feed people to the tour.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if that's the case anymore. But again, the popularity of it has skyrocketed again simply because of the effects of 2020 into 2021 and all this COVID stuff. People were forced to do video. Bands were forced to do more stuff, get more creative. I mean, I have interviewed so many people and I've read so many things. Like, bands of all levels have started podcasts and Facebook Live things and in the studio type programming, and they've come up with just like, comic books and animations. Like, sometimes it's real raw animations, but it's the band themselves, putting it. So this visual content to get people to notice your music has really taken flight in a sense.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, a lot of it is not music oriented. It's less about the music that you're playing, even though everybody's trying to push it, you know what I mean? But it becomes about everything else that we're doing. Look at what we're doing here. Look what we're, there's always something happening. Like, these interactive websites and things like that, that trying to generate some conversation, feedback, dialogue with your social media audience. Because really, for most of us artists, us independent in the trench artists, that is our fan base, the social media platforms. So whether you have 10 fans or followers or likes, or you have millions, it's all relative. That's the audience, that's the group, that's the demographic, that's whoever that you have to kind of feed.
Yeah.
Right? And some of it nowadays, it just isn't the music.
Right.
I mean, look at artists today, like big name artists. I mean, they all do books, right? They're doing books.
Everybody's got a
and
book.
somebody has, a lot of them have, over the past couple of years, they'll have some kind of YouTube channel and they're doing some kind of, Ricky Rocket does something. He has a YouTube channel, right? He does something.
Yep.
I know Nikki Sixx was doing something. We talked about Sammy Hagar. Actually, I really like Sammy Hagar stuff. He does some really cool stuff. A lot of other bands are doing it, or one person from that band. So they're creating all this visual, using music as a backdrop and creating a brand, like we've talked about early on. So is it the brand or is it the music? And I think at the end of the day, especially the way the new industry's going, it's less about the music. And I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash on that. People are like, oh, it is about the museum. I get it. For a lot of people, it could still be about the music, but to get that notice, it becomes the visual.
Yeah, I think that I have to agree with you. I think in your smaller genres or your other genres of music, it is about the music. Maybe the genre that I am involved in, it is more about the music, and maybe the visual more for my kind of music is more album cover, shirt designs, that kind of thing. Where video, we could just really put out a performance video. You guys too, but I think, like you said, to get noticed, to make it to that next level or even close to that level, you have to be outside the box. It has to be more about the music, because that's the age and day we live in. It has to be about branding and the content that you put out on your own, or whether the band does. It has to go beyond that music, and we've always kind of had that in a way, I guess. But as time has gone on and artists are making less money with music, you have to go about finding other ways. That's why all these bigger artists went into colognes, perfumes, clothing lines. That was a thing a number of years ago. I don't think it's a thing as much anymore. But so for a genre like what I am in, it is about the music and about the artwork that we put out. But like I said, if you're trying to get noticed, I think you have to go above and beyond that and get into the brands and the clothing that you wear, getting just kind of getting outside the box and just the music itself, because I don't think that really will do it anymore, unfortunately, because like I said, it's just not about the music. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, there's artists, like you said, that have these colognes and perfumes and clothing lines and shoes and all this gear and whatnot, and I guess out of almost like osmosis, their music is being picked up as well. Now they're going to say, well, we were an artist first and then we moved into this, and it's but people are buying your stuff because they like your music, or are they buying your music because they like your stuff, depending on where they came in to the party. Right. So, like you said, they're covering several different avenues here, so they can get people in the door. And I guess at the end of the day, because you're going to hear somebody say, as long as they're coming in the door and spending some money, they either spend it at table A or table B or table C.
100%.
It all comes back to the same guy.
100%.
So then it is a brand. It's a marketing juggernaut than it is just the music. So when a lot of these people go, well, it's the music, well, it's not just the music. Again, we ended last season with, is rock dead? Question, right? Mm-hmm. And from my perspective, where I'm at on the totem pole, which is, kind of low, rock isn't dead. There's still tons of people doing it, and they're putting out some great stuff. The problem is it just can't be heard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different reasons. So that music, the music that we're looking for is there. It's just you got to get through all this other stuff. And the problem, too, is that most of the audience doesn't want to go trying to find it, digging for it. Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have that small percentage of people that are looking for that diamond in the rough. I mean, you have had them all. What are they? They're audiophiles, right? Or is that what they call them?
Yep.
And, that's a small percentage. Most artists couldn't live on what those people spend, right?
No.
Their job or their goal is to find the most obscure stuff that they possibly can. It's it's like an accomplishment to them. But there's still so many bands out there just plugging away, and their brand is the music. It's nothing else but the music.
Right.
But has it become more visual? I would say yeah. I've tried the TikTok thing. I can't figure it out. I think I'm past that age. I don't.
We're way too old for TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, I know there's some people my age and more that they're doing real well on it. I guess the mentality of how they can kind of wrap themselves around it and get that. But at the same time, this 6-second thing and there's so much crazy stuff going on there. And if you don't have a real good built body and you're wearing barely nothing, I don't see, or you've done something really stupid. You know what I mean? Something crazy. Yeah, I just don't
TikTok's
see.
not for you.
Yeah, TikTok, watching an old guy in the studio, I don't find it to be exciting. So who else is going to find it exciting? So what do I know? I don't know. But but here's the other thing too. So let's look at it like this: we're asking this question, and we're going through this rigmarole to try to find an answer that could be satisfying, could make sense. The bottom line is we're putting our old minds, our old ways of doing stuff into a modern world, right? Because the music industry, the music world has always been about the young artist. The young artist is what's hot, what's happening, right? Hot happening. After if your second album tanks, you start getting pushed back further and further and further, right? Yeah. And sometimes, one-hit wonders are bigger now than they've ever been.
Yeah.
The past 15 years, we've had tons and tons. More than, listen, there's always been one-hit wonders. We get it, okay? Yeah. But more so now. There's a lot of songs that you were hearing at one point that 10 years from now, you're probably never going to hear again. And if you do, it's a rarity.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you go on to, if people still listen to radio, regular radio, my CD player's busted, so I put the radio on when I don't put Sirius XM on. You're still hearing music from the 70s, the 60s, the 80s, and most of the 90s. You know what I mean? There's whole playlists dedicated to that, programming dedicated to that, because they're user-friendly, to put it gently, right? They reach a wider audience. They can fit the bill for a lot of different occasions, birthday parties, people hanging at your house, a backyard party, pool party, whatever the case may be. Where some of the other music doesn't necessarily do that. Now, listen, if you were at a wedding prior to 2020, and I think we talked about this before in some episodes, is a majority of those playlists are pretty dated too.
Yeah.
Whether it's a young couple or an older couple, whatever the case may be. And then there's always that section of the wedding or reception or whatever it is where they throw in some more modern type stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That 90% of the group goes, unless it's a really young wedding, they go, I don't know what any of this is. So they go sit down. And then all of a sudden, drop the bomb on you, comes back on, and everybody's up there, and then followed by the chicken dance, and then you got 100% people up there. Right? So the classics, they never really get old, do they?
You are listening to The Cosmic Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
The problem could be us, not what's actually happening. We're just not either moving with the times at all, moving with the times fast enough, or it just doesn't compute with us no matter how we try to move with the times or put it into our, our cup and saucer. You know what I'm saying? That's why for some older individuals of our age and up, they seem to be able to embrace it where others don't. Look at the stats. Like we talked about the stats last season about our show. The primary audience is 45 and above.
Right.
Because we're 45 and above.
Right.
Right? What 20-year-old wants to listen to two aging guys, that don't know anything about anything, that pretend to do,
but
right?
Yet they should be. That's why we started this.
That's why we started it. But again, that's our belief, right? We're trying to put our belief into this modern conception, but that may not be the case, and that may be the same thing as it comes to here. To us, maybe it has become too visual, at least to the point where, because the argument can go back, well, like you said earlier, hey guys, you grew up in the MTV generation, everybody wanted to have a video, needed a video, they had to show the band at some, right? Yep. And then, for me, hairspray and spandex, that was the thing. My band wore it as well. Everybody did. So, not that if everybody jumped off the bridge would I follow, but I bought a can of hairspray. Right. Everybody else did.
It was a sign of the times, right?
Yeah, it was a sign of the times. And I embraced it just as much as everybody else. Right. There was always people that didn't embrace it. And like you were saying with your style of music, I agree with you. Your music, your style, it's, I will just say your music just because it's the two of us. It is about the music. Like, it's about the aggressiveness of it and how hard and heavy and fast. Because the look, honestly, it's been the same.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
It looks the same as it, maybe you're not doing flannels.
Right.
And corduroys.
Right.
Okay? Right. Maybe the jeans aren't as tight. All right, you know what I'm saying? Maybe the jeans aren't as tight. Because you need to
They're not
breathe.
tapered at the
You
bottom.
need to breathe. You know, so you got, or if they are, there's a tube that goes up the back leg that's, you know, throwing in some air condition. But for the most part, the look is the same, and
for sure.
There's a testament to that, in
Yeah.
my opinion. It really is about that music. It's about pushing the envelope with the music. Mm-hmm. Now, again, in every genre and every kind of like niche type of sound, you have the bands that are leading the pack, and then everybody else that's following, because there's a lot of the same. You know, we've talked about that, but it's everywhere. It's not just metal. It's everywhere. You know what? I'm going to lean towards, though I agree that maybe the visual has gotten to be a little more so. I mean, they're selling other, and that's not just music, but I've watched them sell other products by using, you know, good-looking people.
Oh, yeah.
And they've always done, you know, that became, you know, you sell, hey, you do this and you look like this and you can get this and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to chalk it up maybe more to, I'm leaning now as we have this conversation, that it's probably more of our mentality and perspective being older guys than it is if you were 18, 19, 20, 21. Because I guess TikTok is the hot thing now, right? And
yes.
that the other stuff that was, what was the other stuff that was hot just right before COVID? I don't know. I mean, Instagram was, I mean, Instagram still seems to be hot, but now it's not the same thing. Now, I guess it went from pictures to now the videos again.
To video, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess what it is, you know, like we're in this meme generation, meme world. People still seem to do that. But I guess TikTok is an animated meme in a sense, because they have words up, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So is it progressing? Yeah, I guess so. You know, but everything's coming back. Like, you think about it, like videos are coming back.
Well, yeah, too, and our technology has changed. I mean, you know, you can look at our MTV years, and then you can look at to the YouTube years, which we're in now, and videos are the same, really. They're just kind of, the technology's better. You know what I mean? Like, videos are there. You know, like I said, some are, you know, 6 to 8 minutes, but now they can be, because you're kind of using your own channel on YouTube. It's not, you know, where MTV, you know, even they cut down the Thriller video, you know, as the years went on.
Right.
You know, with today's day and age with YouTube, you don't really, you could put out a 10-minute video or a 10-minute commercial, really, you know, and throw your 3 minutes of music in there. But it's the same as our back in the day. It's just, the technology's different.
Yeah, the technology, accessibility, you know, because if you didn't have MTV back in the day, you had to wait till, you know, Friday night videos, Night Flight or something like that, or, you know, one of your local stations was playing something after the news, you know, on a Friday night, Saturday night. If you had other cable access, but not necessarily MTV, they would play it at different times over the weekend. So it wasn't something that, you know, 24/7 at that time was huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now we've gotten used to that. There's no,
and
it's all the time. It's in abundance. Like, I mean, it's not just one kind. You have to wait for you know, it was 24/7. You have to wait till this video's over.
Right.
You couldn't fast forward.
Right.
Now you could stop it, jump to another set. I don't want to watch this. Watch 2 seconds of it. You know, then you got this picture-in-picture thing. You can watch like 6 of them at a time. It's just crazy, you know. You know, the next question would be is whether it is or it isn't. And, you know, and I guess that's a matter of perspective and whether you use it or not. Like, again, I'm not a TikTok user, so it's not a big deal to me. But someone that's using it's a big deal. Regardless, as artists, regardless of what age we are, what genre we're from, or, you know, era we're from, should we be embracing this? That's a question. Is this something that we should be doing regardless? Because the brand idea has been pushed now for the past 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You are your own brand. You know, get your name in a .com or whatever. Whatever it is you do, that's your brand. And you keep pushing it. And it's not necessarily about the music you do, the clothes you wear, the dance steps you do, or the food you eat and what you drink. You are the brand. And whatever you're doing is what's happening right now.
Right.
And I think what you were trying to point out, like, they've actually increased their streams of income. It's a larger slice of the pie.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Sure. Yeah.
What do you think? Regardless, should musicians, should artists be embracing this one way or another if they're planning to stay as relevant and in the public eye as they can. What do you think?
I think what it comes down to is if you don't embrace it, you're going to be left in the dust. And you and I, in our age group, we've seen so many great artists kind of die out because they weren't ready to embrace the change. I mean, now mind you, we've also seen artists embrace the change and it not work out. Sure. I.e. the alternative era. But I think in this day and age, I think if you don't change with the times or at least try, then I think it's just going to leave you behind.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think that you need to grab on to everything. Again,
yeah, you pick and choose.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I've said time and time again, it has to be true to you, right? Otherwise, it's contrived. It's not sustainable. And we see that with a lot of bands that they try to make a change because they figure this is the way it's going to go, and it's just not sustainable for them.
Right.
Whether it's a look or it's an attitude or it's a style of music or whatever the case may be. But I think that right now there's enough social media platforms. I mean, there's so many platforms that I'm even unaware of. Like I seen a list and I was like, well, I've never heard of that. I'm not, and they all have people. There's an audience. There's all this some look just like Facebook, So I think you find what's best for you or what works, and it doesn't have to be everything. A couple years ago, when everything was, all these different social medias were popping out, they said pick one and really maximize that, right?
Right.
Because you're going to stretch yourself thin and you're going to miss the mark. And then as the years kind of rolled on from that, they were like, you need to do these 3 or these 4. And then some people are like, you got to do everything. I mean, when you're reading what the experts are saying, they're about as expert as you and I. You know what I'm saying? Expert just means you have an opinion, I guess. I don't know. And I know there was a lot of pushback in the early part of 2020 about TikTok. And then all of a sudden it just exploded once everybody grabbed onto it. I mean, my bass player uses it. He's on there quite often. And some of the people that I've had as sponsors over the years, they use it. And it's cool. I get it. Like restaurants will use it. Pizzerias will use it. Places like that. That's kind of cool, especially if you're trying to get a message out there, and that's what you're using it for, to get your message out. Now, I mean, a lot of what you see from TikTok, like say as the face of TikTok, is just a lot of people dancing around or and all this kind of stuff. But there are people who are using it for, maybe they'll, like an artist, hey, I'm working on a new song, here it is a little bit, and again, they're working towards their audience, right? So I guess the icing on the cake is if it goes viral or more people pick up on it and go, hey, check this out. But if you're working for your audience and your audience is on TikTok, well, then do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, as far as I know, most of my audience and that age bracket, they're not on TikTok.
Yeah, me too. Like we had said, I know a couple people that kind of scroll through, but I know they're not using it, on a normal basis as some of the influencers are. Yeah.
And I mean, and I've talked about this before, my numbers on YouTube aren't what they were 5 years ago. My videos get more hits now on Facebook because people in my demographic that listen to the music that I'm putting out, the majority of them are on Facebook. So on Facebook, I started putting my videos on. I didn't always put them on Facebook. I went to YouTube. But my numbers on YouTube just kind of started to go down over the years.
Yeah.
So, but Facebook, they went up. So I started taking advantage of that. I do Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook's the primary one. I have a LinkedIn and, of course, our website. Like I said, I tried the TikTok thing. I couldn't figure it out. I need a crash course in it. And by that, I mean I actually need somebody else to do it, not me. You know what I mean? I can feed them content, but I don't want to be, again, it's, but I'm picking and choosing, right?
Yes,
you
have to.
You have to pick and choose. Because sooner or later, unless you have a dedicated team, and most in the trench indie artists or bands don't, you got to try to stay at least consistent with something and not fall short on it because, I mean, even that said, like my Twitter is not the greatest. I mean, I never really grasped to that, 174 characters about something and you put something stupid out there and I don't know what that means. Till this day, I still don't get it.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a Twitter guy either,
I mean, I put a picture out and it doesn't do anything on Twitter, so I guess pictures don't work. So, and I had Instagram for a number of years, but didn't do anything with it. And then I started using it in 2019, and I was like, well, wow, I was surprised that, But even those numbers I've seen in the last 6 months, the traffic and the numbers have decreased. And early 2020, numbers were like, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing, and the numbers look great here. So I'll just keep doing it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just figured, well, something I'm doing here, so I'll just keep repeating that. But it only stayed for so long because I didn't know what I was really doing.
Do you think it's because the world is kind of opening back up and people are kind of less sitting home scrolling and now they're out doing more things?
It's possible, absolutely. As the weather was breaking and people were becoming more confident, as the vaccines were rolling out, or just some people just said, the heck with it. Whatever's going to happen, life is for living. So I don't know. And I guess that's why, if you go back to the beginning of this, that visual then becomes so important.
Right.
You got to catch them visually, right? People still, even though TV as you and I knew it has completely changed, like we now pay for TV, where when you and I were kids, we didn't pay for TV. We didn't get a lot of TV, but we didn't have to pay for it.
That's right. Okay? That's right.
But now you pay for everything. I got so many streaming channels, I never know what we're watching half the time. You know what I mean? Where did we see that movie?
When you want to watch something, you can't remember what app you were using.
Right, exactly. It's like all over the place. I'm like, I can't believe this. I tried to, number of years ago, I tried to lower my cable bill, which I did by getting rid of premium stations. And you know what they did? They got you, it's only $5 here, and it's $5 here, and $7 here. And 5 years later, it's now $30 here, and 30. Like, they just keep, every month it goes up, but you don't see it. Because they take it. Oh, they take PayPal? Yeah, they take PayPal. So, anyway, that's kind of where we're at with that. So, yeah, listen, I think it's twofold for us. I think that maybe it is too visual, and some of the music has suffered. And I think that's what we're teaching new artists to do. Don't worry so much about the music. Do everything else.
Yeah.
That's also the downside of the artist having all the power in their hand. Because now they have to do everything. And I think that part of the puzzle here for us is it's our age, it's our era, and we're just trying to wrap our minds around something that, is 30 years younger plus than us. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing too. But I agree with you. I do think that as artists, we need to embrace the stuff that's coming as much as we can. Pick and choose. Absolutely, you got to go with what resonates with you. Otherwise, it's just going to be tough. Unless you have a crew of people and you're putting out the price tag for it, man, then you got everything covered. You're not going to miss the mark. But for the rest of us, pick the ones that seem to work well. Do your due diligence. Stay up on top of what's happening. Again, there's so many social media sites, but they're not all going to give you the bang for the buck. They have an audience, right? But you want something that's going to kind of keep your name out there as best as you can. You got anything you want to add?
Just kind of tag along what you had said, kind of picking and choosing and doing what's right for you as an artist or your band, because it has to make sense. You don't want to be doing something that is completely out of left field and it doesn't make sense. You want to try to be a little cohesive with the things that you do and things that you pick, because sometimes doing something completely out of left field, it will just hurt you at the end. Sometimes, thinking outside the box isn't always the right thing to do.
Yeah, with these type of things, you're absolutely right. You don't want to take steps back, or what I should say is you don't want to take too many steps back. As artists, we always take a step forward, and there's always that risk that there's going to be a pushback, and we have to take that step back. And that's okay, because that gives us some assessment time. But you don't want to be forced to take too many steps, and then you're kind of losing your momentum. You're losing the game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, for getting us a third season. We're really excited to be back at this, and we have some exciting content coming this season. Be sure to check out the whole Cosmickverse you can go to www.thecosmickvoice.com. You can pick up episodes from Season 1, Season 2, plus our additional content, which includes Cosmos, Top of the Heap List. We have some Cosmuck and Junk. We have shorter episodes called Cosmic Blasts, which we aired throughout Season 1, part of Season 2. If 45 minutes is too much for you, we have under 30-minute shows for you people that need the quick fix. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmickvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.